Before you stand 12 hardworking students who have proven they can represent Nimitz against MacArthur and Irving High School on May 17th. The topic is, what are the biggest challenges facing immigrant students to graduate? Because of Nimitz's landslide victory in both the 2015 and 2016 district debate, we want to continue the tradition that Nimitz is the best when it comes to our ELL students. Judges, today you will be determining who will be the best five students to represent Nimitz against our competitors. With that said, please keep in mind that today we will not be debating against one another's topics, but solely on presentation and organization of ideas. After each student's speech, we will pause briefly to allow time for judges to complete their judging forms. Last, I would like to point out that today's event is not only about the 12 students who sit before us. This has been a collaborative effort, as all the students in independent English ESL classes have helped with the writing, research, and practice that went with today's debates. Let's have a round of applause for all the students in independent English ESL. Now, without further ado, we're ready to begin the debate. The first student is Carlos Rodriguez de la Cruz.
Imagine, you are in a new place where you don't understand anybody, where your teachers ask you question and after question, and you can only nod your head, where you speak your native language, and the people look at you in a strange way, where you fail because you don't understand your teacher, and after school, you literally have to run to work because your family needs money to survive in your country. All the while wishing to be in the comfortable reality of your own culture, even it wasn't safe or violent. That's how immigrants we feel when we arrive here. It's terrifying. That is why I believe the biggest challenge facing immigrants to graduate is cultural adaptation. According to my classmates who come from many different countries, adapting a new culture is a challenge, not only because of the language, but also because you have no idea what's going to happen next in school. Announcements, letters, teachers, the principal in the microphone in the cafeteria and the auditorium. We don't understand any of it. At first, we rely on bilingual friends or teachers to help us. We don't really feel like a part of the school. There are realistic solutions for this issue. For example, immigrant students should go on field trips that include more diverse of population, places like parks and museums. Many students are limited in their option outside of Irving because they work or lack of money. If the school expands students' experience, it will help immigrants to get more balanced representation of the United States. Another good way to adapt would be to do more activities with all the students from every background. We could start to organize occasional parties where students can meet others, instead of always being stuck in the classroom together. We should make more of an effort to mix different types of students. Finally, never assume that students immigrants because they understand because they know their heads up and down. It's our way to communicate that we need help, but also it's not up to us. Also to people in a new environment to assimilate. Thank you.
Debater number 2 is Mauricio Garcia Reyes.
You can do irrefutable, impossible things with the right amount of planning and support from intelligent and hardworking people. And pizza. You need support to do great things. That's why I believe the biggest challenge for immigrants to graduate is the lack of support. We have an ESL program for us, true, but that's the only resource that helps and supports us. That's where we are failing to encourage students to do their work well. Furthermore, ESL students are usually scared to ask for help because of their English. Instead, they sit there with all their questions. Clearly, that's not right. In order to encourage them, we need to teach them that asking for help will help them out of ignorance and fear. In addition, very often, students from Latin American countries are not accustomed to the amount of support offered by the faculty of the US schools. If they don't know about the many resources available, they will simply not use them. Lack of support doesn't allow immigrants to connect socially. Also, an immigrant has problems socializing with others from the United States because of the fear of discrimination to them. According to Terry Dodds, ESL teacher, specialist, and LPAC lead teacher, says that NIMITS alone has more than 500 ELL students, almost all immigrants. However, the entire NIMITS department only consists of 4 teachers and 3 aides. It is not hard to see why so many students are struggling so much in school. Especially those who are learning English. And it's common knowledge that many of those students are separated from their family members and must stay with extended family they don't know very well, or even just friends of parents. Some of those students are even homeless. Clearly, the immigrant student has more than twice as much on their plate compared to native-born at-risk students. So, let's provide our immigrant students with more resources, programs, teachers, funding, more understanding and compassion, and of course, pizza.
The next speaker, speaker number 3, is Jesus Tellez.
The family is the most important thing for the young person. It is there where he learns to socialize, take into account values and rules. That is why it's necessary to establish rules and behavior early and to avoid custom to lead aggressive behavior, such as being very permissive or demonstrate an incompatible environment. Therefore, it was a matter in educating the parents and students to teach basic respect and morals. I believe the biggest challenge for immigrants to graduate is hostility to immigrants. One day, in my friend APC class, we were working with some friends. We don't know very much English, so we were explaining to each other in Spanish. That's when one of our classmates said the teacher in front of environment. Tell team to only speak English. I made you feel scared and the whole place. It was the first day of the school. And we were working, and we were trying, but already with fall place, learning a new language is hard. And we need to support each other. We must make an effort to make new immigrants feel welcome, not hated and unwanted. Unfortunately, kind of attitude common in many classes. Banning students from speaking their native languages very often and creates environment hostility. My friends' experience is not unique. Every day, we see people refusing to understand the difficulties in adapting to a new culture. We hear often see comments, we are confused, we don't know how to adapt. The US is a diversity country in Salvador, Mexico, and Honduras. There is not much diversity, therefore, when we come here, we are not prepared to deal with a culture that can be very intolerant and even racist. There are people who talk about bullying immigrants, but very few have it gone through. Some people have it even killed it over it. It is heartbreaking that children suffer for bullying or racism. There were 3 violent attacks against immigrants in the US within 13 days. Why? We are the all same. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Jose Medrano.
Good afternoon. Hillary Clinton said, "We are a country where people of the all backgrounds, all nations, of the all religion, all races cannot make a home. America was built by immigrants." Nice quote, right? I wish more people agree with it. I believe that the biggest challenge for American to graduate is hostility towards immigrants. Consider a new student, an immigrant, who doesn't speak English in the class. They don't know how to ask for help. The teacher tells another student to help. The student doesn't want to help because immigrants are weird. According to research by the Leadership Conference, there has been an increase in violence directed against Hispanic for 4 consecutive years. If students don't feel safe, they can work, concentrate, and it will ultimately affect their chances of graduation. Hostility to immigrants causes some groups to oppose immigration reform, such as the Federation for American Immigration Reform, the Center for Immigration Students and Numbers USA, have portrayed immigrants as responsible for many problems in society, often using stereotypes. It's hard to concentrate in classrooms where Americans make fun of them for not knowing English or not understanding school culture. They are some that overcome those conflicts, but for many immigrant students, it's too much to take. Discrimination affects immigrants negatively, especially Hispanic, where the rate of violence has been increasing rapidly. What will the administration do to address it? We must teach that we are worth the same, regardless of our nationality. We must adapt a new people of their culture, where can bear ourselves and show that we can succeed. Thank you.
Number 5 is Maria Gutierrez.
The number one factor in how quickly an ESL students learn English is their amount of quality education in their home country. That's why I believe the biggest challenge for immigrants to graduate is lack of education. In many of our countries, there is a lot of poverty causing many students to immigrate to the US. Many are still accustomed to working, especially if they must send money to their families back home. Generally, public schools in Latin America are not as good as public schools in the US. Sure, there are private institutions in our countries. However, most families cannot afford them. According to a 2011 study, many of these students also experience a high incidence of post-traumatic stress disorder and struggle with cultural adjustment. We must do more to not only help these students academically, but also psychologically. What we're doing now is not enough. We have students who cannot read or write in any language here at school. I think we should double-block classes for students with interrupted education. Jean Agon, Nimitz Alera ESL teacher, says this could help those students. She also believes we must evaluate the student skills before just joining them to the newcomer academy. In addition, we can evaluate with map testing for placement in the correct classes. Summer school, during, before or after school, one-on-one with teacher or tutor support group to develop language is essential for immigrants lacking education. They can also practice online, at home, and on weekends. In order to achieve this, we need to do better finding internet access for free or reduced price. Furthermore, since teachers are so busy with the regular education students, we should hire tutors to work with students to fill in those missing years of education, little by little. I was lucky. I grew up in a supportive environment, and I had access to a decent school in Mexico, where I'm from. However, I have a lot of classmates who were not as fortunate. Let's help them. The administration of Irving needs to address immigrants' lack of education, not only to improve students' English, but also to help them and become contributing members of society. Thank you.
we go with speaker number 6. Speaker number 6 is Leonardo Navas Varela.
Get out of my country, said Adam Purrington in a Kansas bar 2 months ago before the fatal shooting of Srinivas Kuchipotlan, an Indian immigrant at the age of 33 years. Why was he shot? He was shot just for being an immigrant. That is why I think that the biggest challenge to immigrants to graduate is hostility to immigrants. Negative views about immigrants have been prevalent for many years. People don't feel safe with this kind of message because we live in fear. But what will happen if a day like every other, you go walking in the street and you come across people with this racist attitude and they take out a gun and shoot you just for being an immigrant? Unfortunately, this type of violence and attitudes are not uncommon. Even in our own school, we face hostility every day. This can cause anxiety, depression, and fear, leading to many students to drop out of the school. According to the report by the Los Angeles County Commission on Human Relations Hate Crimes report, hate crimes against Latinos jumped 69% just in 2016. And everyone knows that violence against Muslims and South Asian immigrants has increased since 9/11. Considering this rise in hostility toward immigrants, I think that the schools should have a meeting with all classmates to talk about racism and the conflicts that immigrants have to face when they are in their countries. Many people do not understand what it's like in countries where you risk your life every day. My friend and fellow Honduran Swami Diaz says that he sometimes passed bodies dead on his way to school in Honduras. Would you want to live in a place like that? I don't think so. In conclusion, I know that bringing public awareness to the problems immigrants face will help reduce bullying and prejudice to immigrants. And if we help immigrants to feel safer, they will be more likely to graduate and succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Number 7, Monsi Chavarria Romero.
Education is a right that everyone in the world should have. I know many classmates who did not have the opportunity to study that they need in their country. When they come to the United States, everything is complicated, not only because of the language, but also because of the math and science and history they did not learn in their own countries. That is why I believe the biggest challenge for immigrant students is lack of education. Many students don't have the opportunity to study because of violence or lack of money in their countries. According to a Harvard professor, refugee students face similar obstacles to some immigrant students new to the country, interrupted education and learning a new language, along with adjusting to stigmatized to their race, religion, and skin color. In addition, the Journal of the School Health reports that it takes 5 to 7 years for most people to acquire a new language. Can we really expect these students lacking in not only English, but also education in their first language to function well in a school where they must perform the same as their English-speaking peers? I don't think so. Immigrant students have difficulty adapting to a new culture and learning a new language. On top of all the other problems immigrants face, many students also can't even read and write in their own language. I know, I am lucky because my family support me in El Salvador. I had a good education in El Salvador, but I know that many of my classmates' families can support them, and some students must stop attending school in their country because of violence or because they must work to support their families in very bad economic conditions. Problems immigrant students face are learning English, adapting a new culture, adapting to a new school, and bullying. When you add the lack of education, it's surprising that these students are here and haven't given up yet. We cannot give up on them or they will give up on school. Thank you.
The next speaker, number 8, is Daniela Arteaga Espinosa.
The most difficult part of a change is to build habit. Lack of cultural adaptation is the biggest challenge that immigrants are facing to graduate. I, and most of the immigrants I know, have to drastically change our behaviors, beliefs, and values that we learn from generation to generation. For that reason, cultural adaptation is a huge challenge because it is obtained in the society in which we develop for a long time, ever since we were kids. You see, in many Hispanic countries, students have to wear a uniform to go to the school. That type of cultural challenge we face here in the United States. I'll tell you how this affected me. When I had to come to Nimis the first time, the moment I have to choose what to wear was almost terrifying, because I didn't want to give people a wrong impression of myself. Another example was the way the school worked on a daily basis. For example, at lunch in Ecuador, you buy what you want. In the school, there was only one classroom per grade, and the teacher of each subject had to change classes instead of the student. We never needed to move from classroom to classroom in Ecuador. Imagine being afraid of a new country and culture, and I had to learn my way around this big, huge building. Here, I must look for each of my classes and be more responsible about punctuality. This was very overwhelming compared with the struggle to learn English. All these factors and little difference adapt, no wonder immigrants have to problem reaching graduation. To help resolve the issues of cultural adaptation, I believe we must examine and change our prejudice towards people different from us. We must take the initiative to ask others about the culture, customs, and opinions. The trend is to be the mixing culture together, reduce prejudice, racism, and hostility. I know that cultural adaptation is extremely difficult, but with the help of administration and students, we can welcome immigrant students with open arms, improving their chances of graduating and future success. Thank you.
Speaker number 9 is Roberto Hernandez Cruz.
Why is STAR test bad for immigrants? Let me tell you. Because when a student takes a STAR, they stay seated for 8 hours, and that doesn't allow them to learn. According to every ESL teacher, missing even 1 day of instruction is detrimental to their linguistic progress. Another reason is that the STAR test is unfair, because it isn't the same exact test for students that speak English very well or are native speakers. It doesn't make sense. A student that has had only 1 year of studying English will not understand most of the test. It's ridiculous to expect a student who has only been learning English for 7 or 8 months to pass a test in a language they have learned for that long. This process can cause frustration and anxiety for students, leading to many dropping out. You need to pass the STAR to graduate. Therefore, the STAR test is an enormous challenge for immigrants. I have some evidence about immigrants who must take the STAR and the problem that is present in students. My ESL teacher, Susana Hoffman, says that in 8 years of watching beginning ESL students take the STAR, only 4 passed the STAR English 1 the first time. Imagine if you were living in a new country and learning a new language as you engage on all of this ongoing testing. You might feel frustrated and confused. Will the result of your assessment be a true indicator of your aptitude? I think just over everyone will say no. Most educators, parents, and students believe that the U.S. public school engage in testing far too much, even when you consider every other type of student. When you look at your obstacle immigrants must overcome just to go to school, the STAR test become an even bigger challenge to immigrants. We should write to our leader in the Texas Congress to petition on less depend on testing and to adjust the testing rules and requirements for first-year immigrants. Then maybe immigrants will catch up to their native-born peers, leading to a better chance at the future success. Thank you.
Speaker number 10 is Angela Perez Arita.
Cultural adaptation is the process and time it takes a person to integrate into a new culture. When I first came to the United States, I was happy to be safe. But I was also scared and nervous. I didn't know anyone. The behavior of a student was shocking. They were rude. It was hard to adjust to school. I believe the biggest challenge for immigrants to graduate is cultural adaptation. For example, in many Latin American schools, they don't do very much to enforce homework and attendance. This can make it shocking when a new immigrant enrolls in a U.S. school to discover that she will in serious trouble if she doesn't attend or participate in class. It is difficult for adults to hear in Irving because we are surrounded by students who also speak the same language and live in a community where there are plenty of businesses and ways that are very similar to our home countries. Therefore, I think we should go on field trip more often in order to experience more than the culture of Irving and to become accustomed to life in the United States. In conclusion, lack of cultural adaptation can lead to immigrants feeling overwhelmed and as a consequence give up on school. For that reason, we need to be aware of this problem in school and involve as many people we can to fight against it. Thank you.
Speaker number 11 is Brian Ramirez Carranza.
I believe the biggest challenge facing immigrants to graduate is passing the many STAR tests. Let's imagine you had to move to China less than the 1 year you learning language. You are expected to pass a 9th grade test completely in Chinese with not much the dictionary. Could you do it? Not many people could. However, according to the Texas state law, we had to pass the STAR test to graduate. How can be expected on immigrant students who are usually ESL students to feel confident in the school? Not only when they are learning English, but also adapting to a new culture, often feel scared and nervous. This is one of the most fair practice in testing. According to Campus STAR result, English language learners all went behind to passing STAR test compared to native English speaker. Terry Dogs, ESL teacher, especially in LPAC lead teacher, say that almost teachers disagreed with the rule. The new immigrant must take the STAR test the third year because they consider it will student time. Middogs also say that the new immigrants who learn English in their country can be confused by the testing and culture in U.S. Moreover, it can cause students to feel hopeless when they are retest after retest. Students feel hope when they're not given a fair chance to complete. No wonder so many ESL students and immigrants drop out of school, but also any student complete all graduation requirement. Only then, not always, to practice it because of failure to start exam. The biggest challenge for immigrant students to graduate is definitely start testing. It is scared to sped and graduate. Many person complete this task. Even to graduate a doctor program current. I propose we ask them to try do, maybe it will help them start testing for new immigrants. It's a bad idea, and maybe someday change the rule. Thank you.
Last but not least, speaker number 12, Juan Burgos.
Good afternoon. In my country, El Salvador, I only finished the 6th grade before I immigrated to the US. I was fortunate to have a supportive family, English-speaking relatives, and desire to learn. And I spent a semester at the Newcomer Academy because of my lack of education. But my classmates, they were not so lucky. When they came here, not only did they have to learn English, but they also needed to overcome bullying over their English, their lack of education, and their accent. In addition, they had to try to make up for lost time. There are many more students in my situation, and worse. Did you know that there are many students who cannot read and write in the first language? Did you ever try to learn a new language? Imagine have to do it and not be able to read and write in your native one. That is why I believe the biggest challenge for immigrants to graduate is lack of education. Maybe we don't speak English or just a little, but the challenge of lack of education isn't just the English, it's all the other subjects too. My ESL teacher says that many people say, math is universal, you don't need to know English for that. Well, that may be true, but what happens when a student doesn't even know multiplication tables in high school, or doesn't understand percentages, or even basic addition and subtraction? We already have a place to help these students at the Newcomer Academy, but we should also ensure that those students are in a smaller class when they are here, and to have teachers trained to teach those students specifically. Furthermore, we should make people aware of this growing problem. Many people don't even know this is an issue. They assume that the problem is not knowing English. To be honest, in our country, for some, a student is not important because many don't have the interest. Others come to this country for better opportunities, but in the United States, the issue remains because the teenagers say, oh, no voy a estudiar porque no sé inglés. I don't want to study because I don't know English. This attitude can be much worse when students also struggle with subjects outside of English. This leads to students become bored and unmotivated, and that leads them to have a construction job of something. Well, that's nothing wrong with that. We must communicate that there are many more choices out there. If a student to put all the effort, so we must motivate young people so that they can aspire to become what they want to be, not what they have to be. Thank you.
While we're waiting for the votes to be counted up, I just wanted to take a few moments to say this impresses me every year. It took so much courage for these students to stand on a stage in front of a crowd. And some of these students are people who could not ask me how to use the restroom. 7 months ago, okay? And I think that it's really amazing that they're standing here right now. That shows an enormous amount of courage. I don't know if I could do it. And I think we need to give them all a big round of applause just for having the bravery to do this today. We would like to present each one of you with a certificate and a chance to give you another round of applause again. Okay, so I'm going to say all 12 names again. So the first is Carlos Rodriguez de la Cruz. Mauricio Garcia Reyes. Jesus Tejas. Jose Medrano. Maria Gutierrez. Leonardo Navas Varela. Monsi Chavarria Romero. Okay. Daniela Arteaga Espinosa. Roberto Hernandez Cruz. Angela Perez Orita. Brian Ramirez Carranza. And Juan Burgos.
All right, I have a few announcements that I want to make just before I announce the winners. We want to recognize Mercedes Mendez and Ashley Strouser. Will y'all two stand up, please? They also assist in our ESL classes. All right, I want to say thank you to all of you. I was able to come into the classrooms and see the students work practicing. They were writing, they were looking at the dictionary, they were telling each other their ideas, they were crossing things out, making changes, they were in the hallway practicing their speeches. So I know that you have put a lot of effort into this, so I want to say thank you. So, and I know y'all, winners are. I know y'all are ready as well. So I do want to say that we're going to pick 5 winners, and then we'll have 2 alternates, and then they will represent Nimitz on May 17th at the district-wide debate. And so we want you to make Nimitz proud. All right, so here we go. This is in no particular order. So when I call your name, you're going to come over here and join Miss Huffman. All right. First person is Mauricio Garcia. Our next person is Maria Gutierrez Castillo. Our next representative is Leonardo Navas. Our next one is Monse Chavarria. And our 5th representative is Juan Bungos. Our 2 alternates who need to be prepared in case any of these can't fulfill their duties. So that means you still have to practice and be ready. Carlos Rodriguez de la Cruz. And Roberto Hernandez Cruz.